Hey everybody, welcome back to K&E Theater Group's Local Spotlight Series. Just a couple things before we get started. If you are so inclined to donate, in the comment section below here on Facebook, there's a PayPal link. You can click on that and donate that way. If you're not on Facebook, you're on IGTV, or you're on our YouTube channel, or you're on Facebook and just want to donate later, you can always go to our website, which is ketg.org. Click on Support KETG at the top, and there's a donate button there. Well, today is a very exciting day because we have an artistic director here today. We have Miss Linda McInerney from Eggtooth Productions, and she is going to delve into what Eggtooth Productions is, as well as what it's like being an artistic director. So please help me welcome Linda McInerney. Hi, Linda.
Hey, Eddie.
How are you?
I think I'm okay and great and darned good. How are you, dear?
I'm doing well. I'm getting to talk to you.
Nothing wrong with that, sweetie.
Exactly.
Yay.
So let's jump right in.
All right.
We're going to jump right in. So tell us your theatrical timeline. Where you started, where you are now, and all the fun stuff in the middle.
Well, I'll tell you, at my tender age, this would take a very long time if I hit all the high points, but I'll just give you a little bit of a rundown. I started out as a young person as a singer and an actor in middle school. And when I got into high school, I, for some strange reason, got cast in a Colby College production of A Little Night Music. They couldn't find somebody at Colby College. I grew up in Maine. I grew up outside of Waterville, Maine. And Colby College had a theater company, and they, for some reason, couldn't cast one of the roles, and I got the role. And it was quite an earth-changing thing to me. I saw what working with a sort of, they're not professional because they were college kids, of course, but they were super dedicated. And I just felt that that was my life. And from then on in, I tried to be in every high school play that I could in Vassalboro, Maine. And then beyond that, after I graduated from high school, I went to a small school up in Vermont, a school called Middlebury College. And I ended up majoring in theater and French. I had a double major. Wow. And I had a wonderful year that I spent in Paris writing a musical about the life of Jacques Brel that I performed in and directed. And then I sort of got bitten by the directing bug a little bit. And then right after that, I was doing summer stock in Camden, Maine, in an outdoor amphitheater doing Shakespeare and actually playing Gwendolyn in The Importance of Being Earnest in the Bach Amphitheater outside in Camden, Maine. And some of the actors that were in that production were like, "What are you doing when you graduate from college?" And I was like, "I don't know. I think I'll be, I don't know what, puttering around doing nothing." And they said, "Well, why don't you come to the National Shakespeare Company Conservatory where a couple of us teach?" And I got a big scholarship to go there. So I moved to New York and slept on a couch in Brooklyn and went to conservatory there. And while I was there, I auditioned for a bunch of things and did a little bit of soap work and that kind of thing, you know, just small roles, under 5 roles. Did that for several years and off-Broadway stuff. And actually there's a sidebar there. My husband, then boyfriend, his mom became ill with ovarian cancer and wanted to die at home. So sorry, this is not a cheerful sidebar, but it actually was a really meaningful moment in our lives. So I left New York with him and we cared for her for the last several months of her life and then kind of rethought things. So we moved back to New York and sort of plotted our way out of the city at that point, and wanted to figure out how to get married and raise a family, and sat down with a map, if you can believe it. So we moved to Deerfield, Massachusetts, where my husband got a job not far away, and I got a gig working at Deerfield Academy while a new friend was on sabbatical. And I was like, "Whoa, look at this black box theater. I think I would like to know what is happening in this pretty little theater in the summertime." And I was told nothing. they stored chairs there. And I was like, I have the key. Do you think you might let me play there? And, and God bless them, they did. I mean, I did summer theater in this beautiful, exquisite, I mean, one of the most beautiful theaters I've ever seen in my life is at Deerfield Academy. And I think I worked there for like 15 years. And, you know, no money, didn't have any, I just knew what I wanted to do. And it really was like, do you have a barn? Let's make a play kind of a thing. And started directing, even though I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and figured it out sort of by hook and by crook, and mostly by crook, frankly, and built an audience bit by bit by bit by bit by bit, just by seeking out plays that, and now we're sort of evolving into mission a little bit, seeking out plays that were not necessarily well known or crowd pleasers, but that spoke to the moment, you know, spoke to whatever was going on in our world at that moment. I mean, I guess the thing that's coming to my mind is when George Bush was elected president, I thought, oh my God, this needs to have a play. And oh my God, wouldn't we welcome him back at this point? But at that point, it seemed like something needed to be said. And for instance, in that moment, I directed a production of The Irresistible Rise of Arturo Ui by Bertolt Brecht. And, you know, so anyway, I tried to find shows that expressed the moment. Did that for many, many years, then quick to the end of that 15-year slab of time, and got tossed out because they were doing a renovation of the theater. And I was like, whoa, I am now an artistic director who is homeless. How does this work? And I was getting pizza for my kids after karate class, and I saw, wow, you know, here are these, there's a space here that nobody's using for anything, and here's another space that nobody's using for anything. And I thought, well, why do I have to have a theater? Maybe I use these underutilized spaces. Maybe I do something a little funky. And at that moment, that was 2011. And at that moment, I started doing festivals and fringe festivals, and started sort of commissioning other directors and artists and performers to create their own work. And so from the time frame of about 2011 till really only last year, I mean, my last big festival was the Radical Interconnectedness Festival of 2019. I did festivals throughout Greenfield and Turner's Falls, and I did one in Amherst. And I loved that process because utilizing underserved spaces really seemed to be this magical placemaking kind of an experience where the places were never the same after, like, for instance, I did a show in an abandoned bank building, which actually now we're working on turning into a performance and multi-use space. It's called the First National Bank. It's on Bank Row in Greenfield. And when actually, it was not far off from when I got pizza for my kids at Village Pizza. I saw the door open of this building, and I was like, oh my God, I have walked by this building for 15 years. I had no idea it was even here. I feel like, I don't know, I'm not awake. What's going on? So I walked into this big abandoned, falling apart building, and I thought, this is the coolest building I've ever seen. And so at that moment, I thought, why don't I commission a theater piece for it and figure out how I can get in there? And so that was when we commissioned a new adaptation of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein with my dear, dear friend Lyndall Hart. And we wrote a piece based upon her novel, and I sort of, I don't know, bought coffee for the fire department, and bought and you know, and the building inspector and all these wonderful people who were caring for this sort of beat up old building. And so the building inspector gave me this nice long, seemingly impossible list of things that had to be accomplished before we would be able to perform in that space. And I said, okay. And then I did them all, every one. And he really couldn't, I mean, even though the list that he gave me was wildly long, the list that he should have given me was 35 pages longer than that. once I got that list, I was like, well, I can do this. I'm just going to do all the things he told me to do, and let's see what he says. So I did all the things. I put in the electricity and the exits, and anyway, you don't want to know. I did it all like a psychopath, and he just didn't feel like he could say no. And so he let us do this show in this space, and the mayor came, and and we really called attention to an incredibly beautiful and incredibly important building that actually now has received 3 grants from Mass Development, and is going to be renovated into a multi-purpose performance plus kind of a space. So I feel really proud of that. I mean, I probably shouldn't feel proud. I should wait until it's done, because man, it could take a lot more time to get her done, but that's okay. I mean, it's in process. So that happened. And then the pandemic hit just as I was creating my next festival.
Oh,
Wow.
this pandemic, man.
The pandemic, man. It's a plague. We're in it. We're in it. But that said, I get the plague. We might need a plague, baby. We really might need to get bitch slapped with a plague here.
But also, this could be a renaissance.
I think it already is starting to want to be one. Yep. And though there is the great sorrow of not being able to gather, there is the challenge of how do you create art, which is so necessary to our lives, in a way that is safe and in a way that is portable. And it actually has opened up a lot of possibilities. So that kind of brings me up to now, babe. That's my nutshell life.
I loved it. So now you are the artistic director of Eggtooth Productions. I have to ask, and you have got to tell us how you came up with the name Eggtooth.
Okay, so once upon a time, my husband and I moved from, it actually coincided with getting tossed out of Deerfield Academy when they were doing the renovation. And I was like, my friend Harry Mencken named our company when we were doing a project together. That's a chapter, that's a wonderful long chapter. But anyway, one of my dearest friends who's no longer with us was a theater companion of mine. And he said, we should make a theater company. And I said, well, okay, Harry. And he said, you got to have a name. And I said, okay, well, let's have a name. And he said, well, you live in this quaint place. Why don't we call it Old Deerfield Productions? That's quaint. And I was like, I don't know. I'm a young woman who doesn't know anything, and you're a wise old UMass theater professor. Let's do it. But then when I got tossed out of the out of Deerfield Academy, and actually subsequently moved from Deerfield to Greenfield, it was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. So I actually called my son, who is a software designer and a graphic designer and a brander, and he's one of these brilliant creative guys who knows the things. And I told him, I don't know the thing, Matthew. What do you do when you want to rename something? How do you rebrand yourself? And I said, do I dare rebrand myself? I've, got this wonderful subscriber audience I've been working with for so many years. And are they going to be, I don't know, what are they going to be? He said, no, Mom, it's time to change your name. He said, I have exactly the format for you to do this with. It's a book. I was like, a book? And he said, yep. And it's called Don't Name It That. Don't Call It That, I think it's called. And it's a workbook. And so he sat beside me on my couch, and we went through the entire workbook. And it's this wonderful psychological adventure of digging into your mission as an organization and digging into like who you really are. It was a really deep dive. It was sort of shrinky, but we did that for a couple hours, and it just hit me like a lightning bolt. I was like, I know what the word is, because what we do is we crack open experiences for audiences and for artists who are wanting to create, so that they can birth new work, and so that audiences can have a new experience and sort of a new awakening, or a new, I don't know, just, gets kind of slapped into seeing something fresh. You know what I mean? I mean, when theater does that to you, it's so exciting. And so the word that popped into my mind, I actually didn't know the name. The word that popped into my mind, I said, what's that thing, Maddie? That thing that's on the nose of a chick blasting out of an egg when it gets born. We're that. And he was like, you mean like an egg tooth? And I was like, that's what we are. And he was like, oh. Sticky, Mom. And I said, why did you say that? That's disgusting. He said, no, sticky is good, Mummy. I was like, oh, okay, sticky. No, sticky's
The
good.
words of the kids these days.
Children. Sticky was always bad in the 80s, but now I guess sticky is good. So the thing that was really funny about it is he tweeted, and we got a response from the author of the book who said, great name. And I was like, wait, you just are talking to the author of the book that we just worked from? He said, oh yeah, we do that. I was like, oh, I love the tweeting. I mean, the tweeting, the twatting, I love that. That's so good. I'm gonna learn how to do that. So that is the genesis of the name, my love. That is the genesis of the name.
I love it.
Isn't it fun?
Give us a little bit of like the Eggtooth history. And I think what I really want to know as well, and I think our audiences do, is what makes Eggtooth so unique.
So our mission, I guess I would go to the mission if that's okay, is our mission is essentially variations of the idea of nurturing, promoting, presenting, creating work that nourishes and engages and challenges audiences. And what's happened over time is we've sort of expanded beyond the butt-in-seat theater idea. I think once our butts got thrown out of seats at Deerfield Academy, it made me think kind of deeply about what theater could be and what it really does. And I had been really attached to that space, and it was kind of super emotional to be out of it. And I thought, wait a minute, where's the lemonade? There's some really sweet lemonade here if you'll do the work. You've been talking about this with young performers and creators who come into your life, like when something happens, what is the good of it? And so I thought, let's do what's good. And that really caused me to realize that commissioning artists and nourishing the work of others is really important, particularly in the Valley. The Valley is a hard place to be. Every artist I know has at least one day job. It's not an easy place to make a living, and it's almost impossible to make a living through your art. So is there a support system? Linda McInerney, you've been doing this for a long time, and you have a lot of friends who have helped you over the years, who could help other people. And so we started really thinking about our assets or our currencies. And, everybody thinks of money as the big currency, but honestly, in the Valley, money is one, but there are many, many more currencies. So I thought it's time for me and us as Eggtooth Productions to share those currencies and really, let them live in many, many other ways. So that's sort of been the mission and what we're devoted to doing now. And wait, what was the last part of the question? I forget.
What makes you guys so unique?
Oh, unique. Well, probably because I'm batshit crazy. But but actually, no, more than that. It's really I, as an artistic director, and we as an organization, and our board of directors is so brilliant. I couldn't be happier with we have a brilliant board of directors. They want to be nimble. They want to adapt. They want to respond. They want to grow. They want to expand. We all want that. So in order to do that, you have to adapt. And so I guess the way that I would say, I mean, probably as an illustration of our adaptability, and one of the things that makes us a little bit odd as a theater company, if not crazy weird, is that we just dug into the pandemic and we're like, okay, no theater with butts and seats, no theater in festivals. What is theater? And one of the avenues that we've been pursuing for several years, actually since 2011, is the avenue of immersive theater. And that, for folks who don't know, that is an experience of theater where it's site specific, so that you are going to a space and having an experience that you are part of as opposed to being an observer. So I've been doing tons of immersive theater work with a very special friend, companion, board member, and beloved collaborator whose name is John Bechtold. John Bechtold is this unbelievably brilliant human being who I we could not be more blessed to have in our midst. And he has studied extensively and been in, and worked with Punch Drunk, which is a company out of London, out of England, that has been one of the innovators of this idea of immersive theater. And folks watching may know about Sleep No More, which is a long-running show on Manhattan Island that is based upon, it's kind of a dance piece, an immersive theater dance piece that is based upon Macbeth, though we're not supposed to say the Scottish play, and Scottish play, and so he's worked extensively with them and sort of built his own language as well. And so what we at Eggtooth have done is to try and seize upon this idea of immersive theater in a way that is pandemic friendly. And we have, or I should say John has, through Eggtooth, created a series of audio curated walks. Eggtooth has purchased and built an app. It's the Eggtooth app. I know. Oh, wow. I know. My son Maddie is like, oh, Mommy has an app. So Mommy has an app, and it's an Eggtooth app. And what it is it's essentially GPS triggered sound. Thus, you think of yourself as the little blue dot on your Google map. And when you step into a territory, you have your smartphone with you, and you have loaded promenade number 1 that takes place in Amherst, Massachusetts, and you can find out about it at eggtooth.org with the tab promenades. And when you have your earbuds in, when you step into that piece of territory, you begin to hear a thing. Huh. And there are up to 3 layers of sound that you can receive through your earbuds. So you are having a sort of super saturated sensory experience that begins with your ears, but really kinetically gets your body and mind and brain aware of your surroundings in a way that you've never experienced before. It's pretty outrageous. Yeah, it's really cool. So the first one that we did in Amherst at the Hitchcock Center is, I don't want to give too much away because it's pretty cool to just do it, but you'll hear the Eggtooth company. We've got a company of about 25 performers who we work together all the time, not exclusively because we're always open to new performers, but we do have a kind of language together, actually having worked together so often. So you'll hear a bunch of Eggtooth performers performing for you. And the second one that is not quite complete, it's in beta and will come out soon. Look, Mommy said beta. Will come out soon, is in Highland Park in Greenfield. And that is a play. I would call that an audio play that you will experience when you do that. And then we're doing a third one that is based on the tarot with all of the major arcana cards. And I get to play the Empress, card number 3. Super fun. Woohoo! It's the first time I've ever been an Empress. I think I might get used to that. And that takes place at Skinner Mountain throughout the walking trails on Skinner Mountain. So that's one of the things that we've done that makes us unusual. Another thing that we're doing that makes us unusual is we put out a series of grants. We put out, I called them the pandemic grants. And they were small grants, mini grants to a variety of artists who had interesting and innovative ways of creating in the pandemic and safe ways of creating. And we opened it up to all art forms. I have to say my festival experience has made me fall in love with all kinds of artistic experiences, visual, audio, and I'm open. I think in my experience, theater is becoming less of a name than art. There are so many ways to experience artistic brilliance that I don't want to limit us, and I don't want to limit the experience for our audience. So we opened it up to all different kinds of art forms, and we've most of them are completed by now. But I am working on one right now that I'm directing and am in love with, which is a drive-in theater experience where we will be doing a theatrical experience on the top floor of the Greenfield parking garage. We have the blessing of the mayor. We just have to work out the details of when we can do it. And that will feature the brilliant and astonishing work of an artist named Jack Golden, who has studied what if people wouldn't make fun of it is called mime, but really it's, you know, kinetic and brilliant and physical acting, you know, experiencing theater through the physical. And so he's a physical performer, and we'll be overlooking the mountains of Greenfield from the top floor of the parking garage. And, you know, say 10 or 12 cars will park with their windows open, and we'll have a sound system and a lighting system. And Jack will perform his comic interpretation of Dante's Inferno.
Wow.
I know.
That is, yeah. I mean, that all of that you just said truly does make Eggtooth such a unique, experience, a unique form of performance and theater, which makes it so exciting.
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you so much. What we want to do is nourish our community through art. I mean, especially at this time, I forget who it was. It might have been Stephen King who said, anybody who thinks that supporting the arts is a waste of time only has to look at what they're experiencing during the pandemic and where they're focusing their attention. And it's on art, man. Art is getting us through this.
That's true.
And it always has. It always has throughout time. So we are devoted to it, honestly. I mean, we just want to be of service, honestly. It sounds a little weird, but.
No, I love that. Now, you're the artistic director of Eggtooth Productions, and you've really listed out a lot of the responsibilities as far as an artistic director. Are there any more?
Well, you know, being artistic director is kind of a weird job because it can involve moving chairs and cleaning toilets, as well as, you know, making a presentation before the bank and standing up on stage and directing a piece. And I mean, I haven't really, honestly, after all these years, got a very good answer for this question. But when people ask me, Linda, what do you do? I just say whatever it takes. Because that's kind of it, you know, each project has its own needs. Each cast, or whatever the cast of characters is, have their own specific needs. And I think what gives me the most pleasure is looking at that really difficult challenge and just doing my very best to do whatever it takes. So it's a short answer, even though it's probably a wildly long answer. You know what I mean?
I think pretty much that's it. Like, do whatever you have to do.
Yeah.
To get what you're trying to do out there.
That's it. That's it.
I agree. So I want to ask you one really quick, fun question.
Okay.
And that is, if you could have dinner with one person, dead or alive, who would they be and why?
So I've got a thought, and she's so alive. How about Tina Turner? Isn't she everything? Like, I want to be Tina Turner. She is everything I ever loved in humanity. She's been through adversity and kicked ass through adversity. She is a performer par excellence. She is energetic. She can do all the things. And she's a Buddhist. Like, she meditates every day. Mm-hmm. Like, she is at peace with herself, and she's aging magnificently. And let's all do that.
I wish I could insure my legs.
I know, right? I don't have that good legs, but you know, I love her. I love Tina.
Tina's amazing. Adrienne Warren plays Tina on Broadway.
Oh,
she is incredible.
Wonderful.
If you get a chance, look her up.
I will check that out.
So my last question is the same question that I ask everybody at the end of every interview.
Okie dokie.
What draws you to live theater, to live performance? Mm-hmm.
Well, I gotta say, like, this is a pretty spiritual question for me, so I hope your audience doesn't tune out as I respond to this. But you know, it's sincere, really. I think that we're all one, and when we gather, like we can't right now, we get to connect on a really profound level. And expressing ourselves and our experiences and telling our stories through the spoken word, through movement, through whatever it might be, is what we're all about as human beings. That's it.
I mean, I think that's beautiful. I mean, there was just a study, I think, and I think I've mentioned this in a previous interview,
What?
where they said that everyone in the audience of a performance, their heart beats together.
Oh, totally. 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 I mean, there have been so many experiences that I have had that are other earthly with audiences, with casts. I mean, it really, you know, you really do vibrate at the same level when you're all together experiencing a story together. And we know this from anytime we go to a concert, anytime we go to the theater, anytime we go to anything together where we are collectively experiencing one experience, there is, I mean, I think that the heartbeats beating together is only the beginning. I think there's so much more than that, Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
And we need it, you know. I mean, look at what's happening in the pandemic, right? One of the harshest realities of the pandemic is loneliness.
Yep.
And how people feel disconnected. All you have to do is go to a show and you know exactly what that is. I mean, we've all had these moments of transportation and sort of spiritual uplift. It's almost like, you know what, way back in the day when I was in college, I was in choir, and I'll never forget the first time the choir director said, "Oh, here it is." And I was like, "What? What's he said? What's he talking about?" He said, "Listen carefully. It's called an overtone." And sure enough, we had made a pure enough sound that there was a tone in the room that was pure sound. That was, I think it was a fifth above what we were doing. Actually, I might have that wrong. It might have been a third. I can't remember where it sat on the scale, but we created an overtone. And I think that when you experience something together of creativity, that overtones happen on an ongoing basis. And we live for that.
I love that. Well, Linda,
Eddie!
thank you so much for doing this.
It was very fun, sweetie.
You are just so, that was so inspirational. Like,
What? Okay, good.
yeah.
Let's be inspired together. Want to?
Yes, always.
Okay.
Inspired. But I just want to say thank you again for doing
Thank you for doing this, Eddie. Look what you're doing, Boo. What you're doing is you're bringing creators together. You're letting creators express themselves and giving audiences an opportunity to relate to a bunch of local creators, which they don't really get to do right now, you know? So you're doing it. You're doing it. Good job.
We will chat again soon, Linda.
All right, hon.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Good night. Linda McInerney. She's so cool. She's just so cool and just loves what she does. And I just admire that so much. So Linda, thank you. And Eggtooth. If you want to see some immersive theater in Greenfield, go to Eggtooth. Really quickly, just a reminder, if you're inclined to donate to help K&E Theater Group with their 2021 season, in the comment section below on Facebook, there's a PayPal link. You can click on that. If you're not on Facebook, you're on IGTV or our YouTube channel, or you're on Facebook and would like to, you know, donate later, you can always go to our website, ketg.org. You can sign up for our newsletter, and you can also click on Support KETG and donate that way. Thank you so much for spending your night with us again. We'll see you during the next Local Spotlight.